Hello, my name is Lorna and this is my podcast Thread and Yarn. A warm welcome to anybody who's new here and a big welcome back to anybody who's watched my channel before. This episode I'm going to be talking all about the summer solstice craft retreat that I'm hosting here in Stroud at the end of June this year with my lovely friend Lucia. I want to walk you through all of the wonderful elements that we've been planning and put together for this delightful long weekend that I'm incredibly excited about. It's got all of my favourite things in it and I'm hoping that some of you will feel the same. So yeah, whether or not you're thinking about coming along or if you just fancy a little cosy video where I talk through what we're going to be getting up to and sharing some of the things that we might make and do together, then yeah, I hope you enjoy. I'm going to talk a little bit about my quilt at the end as well, but yeah, we're mostly about the solstice retreat, and I'm also going to be showing some video clips of Lucia's house in Stroud, the beautiful part of its historic manor that we're hosting the retreat in. So if you fancy seeing some videos of a gorgeous old historic house, then maybe you'll enjoy that part too. Really excited about this event. It's just going to be beautiful, I think, and I'd love it if you joined us for a long weekend of crafting whatever kind of handcraft that you love, some willow weaving, lots of home cooked food and homemade cakes, rambles in the Cotswold countryside, and a beautiful Fiberfolk evening event which features storytelling around the campfire with a bowl of chilli. Booking is open on my website, which is threadandyarn.co.uk, and I hope it's got all the information you need, but if you have any questions at all then just let me know. But throughout this video I'll talk through most of the details, and including the pricing and workshops and things like that. So it's really important to me that the retreats are something that I feel really passionate about and I can really feel the feeling behind. And I felt that way about the winter gathering retreat and also the sewing retreat that we did the year before, but I like to find kind of points in the year where I feel like it's lovely to kind of lift our energy. Like in the winter gathering one, it was lovely at that point where everybody's kind of finished with winter and it's nice to sort of embed and to rebuild your energy for the year ahead and be cozy and curl up by the fire and things like that. With this retreat, it's a celebration of the height of the year. It's the point where everything is in absolute abundance. It's midsummer, the gardens are full, everything is starting to crop. We've got the longest day of the year, we've got the most light, and I love celebrating the solstice for that reason. Traditionally celebrated with fire and with gathering, so I thought what a perfect opportunity to get together some lovely makers who hopefully will enjoy some of the same things. So that's the kind of inspiration behind it. I wanted it to be very connected to the natural world because that's very important for me and it helps me feel grounded, and for that reason some of the events are happening in the garden and in the woodland, or possibly in a lovely little garden yurt if we're not lucky with the weather. Fingers crossed. It's important to me, regardless of the weather, that it feels sort of connected to the natural world. So I brought in some new elements for this retreat, and although we are kind of celebrating that abundance and that energy, it's still very much a time to relax and enjoy your making and to have a moment to be kind of reflective and away from whatever it is that's going on day to day. And to sort of accompany that, we've got lots of homegrown and home cooked food for you. Lucia and I spend a long time planning the menus, and we absolutely love finding seasonal and local food, making lots of tasty meals. Sorry if you can hear my chicken in the background, I just got a bit distracted then. There's one of them who makes a big proclamation a couple of hours before she lays and then after as well, so it can go on for a while. There's lots of space in and around the house as well for you to take yourself off and work on whatever you'd like. So it does have a knitting focus, this retreat, and when I say knitting focus, that's because I am running a little workshop on how to improve your colourwork, really, whether colourwork is new to you or it's something that you've done for a long time and just fancy joining in on anyway. I'm going to be suggesting a sock pattern, and I say suggested because it's your experience to tailor to how you'd like to spend your time, but there is a lovely colourwork, simple colourwork sock pattern by a designer called Marie Eve in her skein. It's the Fiorellini sock, and I've been knitting up a sample of it recently, and it's fairly low contrast in the sock in the samples I've got, but you can just see these lovely wildflower stems. It's not great in bright light, but there you go. It's a lovely little simple floral colourwork sock, and I feel like it perfectly embodies the abundance of that time of year and celebrating all of the greenery and the flowers in the garden. So I'll be running a little workshop on the colourwork element of this, sharing tips to help you lift your colourwork, and everybody will have a copy of this pattern to knit at the retreat if they would like to. If they would like to knit something else, that's totally fine, or if they would like to bring any other type of craft, that's absolutely fine. We're sticking to handcrafts, so things like spinning, embroidery, hand stitching, not sewing machines this time because we're keeping it quite peaceful on a sort of noise level, but handcrafts very, very welcome. We ran a little dinner at Halloween at Selwyn for some local creatives as well, and we had somebody sketching and we had somebody doing cross stitch, so all these kinds of things are really, really welcome. I think it's lovely to gather different makers together. But there will be this sort of knitting focus in terms of the workshop for anybody that wants to join. I'll also be doing a talk on natural dyes. Yeah, there'll just be lots of time to enjoy working on whatever creative project you want to work on. One of the new things that we've added to this retreat is a willow weaving workshop, and I'm very, very, very excited about this. I've been learning how to weave willow this year from a lovely, wonderful woman called Nora Kennedy here in Stroud. I'm describing her as a willow wise woman. She has, I think, half of the time I was learning how to weave willow, and the rest of the time I was just soaking up all of her experience and stories, and just being with her was the most wonderful experience. She taught me how to make this willow, ignore that, taught me how to make this willow trug, which I really wanted to make to pick the dye flowers from my allotment. It's a perfect shape, it's quite shallow and wide, and we made it in a couple of afternoons, which I couldn't believe. We won't be making this on the retreat, but we will be making a little yarn platter, and I just wanted to show it to you because it's what gave me and Lucia the idea to include Nora in this workshop, which she's really excited about as well, and I think it would be lovely to display your yarn on your coffee table. I think that's how I'm going to use mine. There's a little woodland area in the garden, and we're hoping to be able to host it there. If not, as I said, it'll be in the yurt if it's rainy probably, and I think it's going to be just a lovely way to use your creativity and your hands differently. I don't know if anybody has used willow before, but I think it will be a lovely, lovely thing to try out. So that's on the Saturday, and the evening is something I'm incredibly excited about. So for a couple of times now, we've run a Fiberfolk evening, once at the previous retreat and once at Selwyn, as I mentioned. It's Fiberfolk, if you're not familiar with that term, is just something I've used over the last few years to describe the wonderful connection of being together in a group and working together and listening to stories. Now, that is certainly not my idea. That's something that goes like back beyond historical records. People have been crafting together and sharing stories and gathering together all times of the year, but especially at important times like this. And I really wanted to make that part of these events. It just feels like a wonderful like community thing, and I think whether you want to share or you just want to listen, it's up to you. We'll be bringing our professional storyteller Hannah Moore back, who has just created the most magical evenings for us so far, and I'm really excited because Hannah's going to be sharing some stories all inspired by midsummer folklore and seasonality.
Ornaments, jewellery and a shining, shimmering robe. And when she was decked out in all of her power, with her bow and arrows clanking on her back against the armour that she wore, she set off.
And Hannah also does this wonderful thing where, because she'll join us for dinner as well and get to know everybody a little bit, last time she was inspired by some of the things she was talking about with people, and they influenced her stories, and it just had the evening just became this like wonderful dynamic magical event. So we'll be doing that around the fire, weather permitting. That'll be outside around the campfire with some bowls of homemade veggie chili, and it just feels perfect because traditionally at the summer solstice people would have lit big fires on hilltops and celebrated with fire. It's really very much like a fire festival. It's the absolute peak of the year in terms of the length of days, but also we're kind of acknowledging that light is going to start fading as we move into the darker half of the year, and it's kind of clinging on to that last bit of light and celebrating our gratefulness for it having been here. Plus, it's just fun, isn't it? It's fun to have a gathering and a bit of a campfire. So I'm incredibly excited about that, and I think it'll add a whole new dimension with Hannah telling stories around the campfire. So on Midsummer's Eve, although it's a weekend after Midsummer, I think it will still have that really magical quality to it. So I'm incredibly excited. So the retreat is running from Thursday the 26th to Sunday the 29th of June. It's an evening arrival about 5 p.m. on the Thursday, and everybody can join us for welcome drinks and for a evening supper. And we'll show you to your rooms if you're booking accommodation at Lucia's house. And then Friday is going to be a day to settle in, wander around the garden, cozy up, in an armchair with a project or a book or whatever you like. And there'll be some lovely home-cooked food. And I'll be doing my colour workshop on the Friday and a talk on natural dyes. And then Friday evening is for you to explore Stroud if you'd like, or you can bring food back to the house. And then on Saturday there will be a number of wonderful events that I'm very excited about. But also plenty of time if you would like to take yourself off for lovely walks in the countryside around Stroud. Lucia's house is located in a really good spot, I think. It's about a 20-minute walk from town, and it's also a couple of minutes really out into fields. So it's great if you're coming by public transport as well, because you can access things by foot if you want. But also there's a number of incredible local walks and viewpoints. The good thing about Stroud, well, there's tons of good things about Stroud, but because we're at the point where 5 valleys sort of converge, everywhere you look in Stroud there is a view. There's a big hill, it's very hilly, and that means that there's incredible viewpoints over Wales, over the Forest of Dean, down towards the Severn. I always seem to be looking that way. I always seem to be looking west. But yeah, there's so many gorgeous views, and Lucia and I are compiling a list of local walks. If you want to take yourself off at any point and go for a ramble, then we can recommend some for you based on your sort of appetite for walking and yeah, what feels good to you. So that's very much up to you to to sort of choose your own adventure in that way. And then when you want to come back to the house and you want a cup of tea and some homemade cake and to curl up with your project, then we're there waiting for you. And equally, if you want to stay at the house and really embed yourself in that feeling, then absolutely do that too. So in terms of the pricing and how to pay and things like that, it's all explained on my website, but the retreat ticket itself is £499. It took me a long time to decide how to price this. I've had a little bit of an increase in some of my expenses, and I also need to make sure that I'm paying everybody who is involved properly, including myself. And we've got a couple of extra things worked in this time to this retreat, like the willow weaving workshop, and I think it's going to be really wonderful. That's for the retreat itself. And if you would like to book accommodation at the house, then that is priced separately on top, and I'll talk through the different accommodation options in a moment. Then there's the accommodation. Lucia's house, as I said, is a historic house. Some elements of it go back to the 17th century, I believe, and it's got a newer 18th century extension. Lucia can talk you through the house if you come, but there's so much history involved. There's so many interesting little changes, doors that used to be there that aren't there now, patches worn into the stone where people have walked for hundreds of years, the odd servants' staircase and servants' quarters. It's really interesting, and it's got a lot of interesting history to it. And downstairs there's a number of open sort of shared rooms with different sort of feelings. So take yourself to wherever feels good to you. There'll be some other spots around the house as well, and then of course, because it's summer, there'll be the garden as well, with different seating areas for you to wander around, including the veg garden that I'm working on every Monday at the moment, so you can come and see that if you like. And there's a little cosy table and chairs there as well. Upstairs there's a number of different bedrooms. So there's, if I start from the top, there's not the top of the house, but the top in terms of price per night. There's the blue room, which is this beautiful sort of airy room with an ensuite, and that one is £100 a night. There's the yellow room, which just feels so warm and gorgeous. I think I have this video clip of it with the birds singing and the windows open, and it's just sunny and lovely. That one is £90 a night. There is then the pink room, which is a single bed, and it has a little sink in there. That one is £80 a night. That one's really pretty. I love that room. Those three are all one floor up. Apart from the blue room, which has its own ensuite, the other rooms share a family bathroom. There is a sink in the yellow room as well, and in the pink room. And then upstairs is our shared dormitory space. It's kind of shaped like an L, but we have a double bed space with a little sort of mini kitchenette, which is slightly separated off. And then round the corner there's a shared space, which also has a cover, has a curtain which can be pulled across to separate it from the shared sort of central seating area. There are two single beds in there. There is an open staircase, so that's just something to bear in mind, and it is one floor down to the shared family bathroom. So not one for anybody that is unsure about managing stairs at night time, but those are the rooms. And I think they're all absolutely beautiful, and it's lovely to stay in the house and feel really embedded in there. But we've also had people who've booked their own accommodation, so I can recommend a number of different local spots for you as well, if that's something you're interested in. I'll also be dyeing up some sock kits for the colourwork sock that I you can order a bit closer to the time of the retreat if you want to have a go using my naturally dyed yarn to make your little sock. And I'll also be bringing my sort of what I'm calling my dark summer collection along as well, which is something that I'll release in July. I've been planning it for a while. It's really inspired by the July wart moon, the herb moon, and it's got a kind of witchy, dark, herby summer vibe to it, if that makes any sense. Lots of deep purples and greens and olives and golds and things like that. And I'll be bringing along the first part of that collection, so you'll have early access to that yarn as well, and I can talk through it a bit more as well in my natural dye talk. It's going to be a time that's full of wonderful food, flowers, herbs. There's going to be loads of homegrown herbs from my garden and allotment in our meals, and I think it's going to just feel like a wonderful celebration of that time. And I just wanted to share a little bit with you as well from my cycles of the year little book that a friend got me. So it's just a little video of this, which is really inspiring some of the feeling behind this event. So I really hope you choose to join us at the Solstice here in Stroud. I think it's going to be a magical long weekend, and it would be wonderful to see some of my community there and to meet you in person. I've just really loved meeting people in real life who I've spoken to for a while online, and some people who I hadn't, and it's created, I hope, some lasting friendships, and that's really, really exciting. So I'd love to see you there. If you've got any questions at all about the retreat, please just send me a message and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Always best to contact me via email because that's what I see most regularly. I don't always check my messages on Instagram or on YouTube every day. So if you haven't heard from me, then just send me an email. That would be best. Yeah, and then just a reminder that booking is open on my website in the shop section on threadandyarn.co.uk, and if you wanted to see any more pictures of the accommodation, then that is on the retreats and workshop info page, which is like a separate tab on my website. I also wanted to talk to you quickly about a day workshop I'm doing. You might have heard me mention this already. This is why my quilt is here as well. So I am doing a day workshop on Saturday the 17th of May where I'm doing an intro to scrappy quilting. I've really loved making this scrappy quilt from all of my pieces of linen and old clothes and things that I haven't worn so much lately, and it's made a lovely, comfortable, cosy big scrappy quilt. And I've had a lot of interest about how I've made it and a lot of questions, so I thought I'd run a day workshop. I know that some of you want local, a lot of you want local to Stroud, of course, but if you wanted to come make a day of it or a weekend of it in the Cotswolds, then I'd love it if you join me for this workshop. It's on my website in the shop section if you'd like to book on, and we're going to be obviously not making a whole quilt in one day, but we'll do a sample quilt, and there's a couple of projects you can choose from to experiment with the different techniques that you can then take away and apply to a bigger quilt if you'd like. And if you'd like to stay over in Stroud, then I've got some accommodation recommendations I can share with you. So yeah, if you're interested in that, that's on my shop as well, and it'd be lovely to see you there. I'll probably be doing another update in May. I am taking a couple of weeks off at the end of April and start of May, but I'll still be checking my emails just in case there are any sort of urgent questions and things like that about the retreat. Wishing you well and hoping you're having a lovely spring.